This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to the program. I'm Roby Brock. As always, we appreciate you joining us. This week on the COVID-19 front, we've seen a variety of developments. Schools preparing to open for in-person classes, while some early open schools are already closing. College football and sports on in some parts of the country, off in others. And a stalemate in Congress over a new round of relief for business and industry as well as individuals. We'll explore a lot of these topics in the show this week, but first up, how are political candidates campaigning in the pandemic? I moderated the Second District Central Arkansas Real Estate Advocacy Forum this past week, which featured sit-down interviews with U.S. Representative French Hill, the Republican incumbent in the 2nd Congressional District, and his Democratic challenger, State Senator Joyce Elliott. I asked them both how they've adapted their campaigns to COVID-19 and also for some timeless political advice. Before we get into real estate and tax and finance questions, I want to hear just a general, how has it been campaigning in a COVID-19 pandemic? You can't hug babies or kiss babies. You can't shake hands with people. How has this affected campaigning in your mind?
Well, it's been a discovery every day, because when people keep talking about normal, I've just kind of gotten that out of my mind, because you will just be standing still if you just dwell on that. But it's been different in that we've just had to be so creative all the time and think about ways of, like, if you were going to go to a rally or something, how do you do that? You know, in times like this. You know, I'm one of those persons who, I'm over 60, well over 60, closer to 70 than 60. And you can't just be out among people, but you need to see people. They need to see you and ask questions. So one of the things we did early on, we rediscovered the magic of the pickup truck. So you go in a pickup truck and you can stand on the back of the truck and you can talk to people, and that creates instant distance without seeming standoffish. Because I said, if you come here, we'll talk. And we actually use that. We've used that 2 or 3 times, and that's very helpful.
But we need to get the train system rolling again. You could just be on the back of a train.
Just have those stops along the way.
Yeah.
And the other thing,
whistle stop.
Yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? But the other thing we've done too is, you know, as everybody else has, we've just become, you know, Zoom, I guess, aficionados by now. And honestly, you can create, I've figured out, a new normal so quickly, because it's become so normal to do these Zoom events that I get excited when the faces start popping up on the screen, because it's different faces from what I've seen all day long. And so it's just really been a different way of thinking about, how do you do fields, for example? How does that team get out there? And so we had to come up with ways. I have a very good staff who are very savvy technologically, and they get online with people and do the phone banking right there online. And the cool thing about that is something, you know, used to when people would say, well, give me a list of names and I'll go home and call them. You go, you know you're not, that kind of thing. But in cases like this, you get, I don't know, 20 people on the Zoom, they're all sitting there seeing each other, where there's even instant accountability. So it's turned out to be something we've just decided we're not going to whine about it. We just do what we have to do to get it done. And it's been interesting.
Very interesting.
I imagine we will carry some of these things over, I suspect, as we go along.
Yeah. We are going to obviously start with something not real estate related. So just to throw you in a curveball here.
Good.
I've asked this question before. I want to know how you have avoided shaking hands and kissing babies as you campaign for re-election in a COVID-19 pandemic. How has it changed campaigning in your mind?
Well, it's definitely changed campaigning, because we're not going to have the state fairs that are so much fun to work a booth and to spend time with families. And it's been frustrating. I'm a hugger, and happy to report that. And so there's a lot of air hugging and a lot of awkwardness around shaking hands or not shaking hands, and every business person in America is dealing with it. So we're no different. I did go back and read about the 1918 pandemic and the impact on the 1918 elections. And one thing they said, well, there are no torchlit marches, there's no picnics. So we're going to try this new thing. It's called direct mail. And so they canceled a lot of conventions that year and used mail and used newspaper advertising more, lists of people supporting their candidate. So they tried to, they lost that personal touch too.
All right, you get to end on a non-real estate question here. I would like to hear from you. What is the best political advice you have ever given or received?
Gosh, the best political advice I think I've ever given is people don't owe you their vote. You just have to earn it. They don't owe you that. So recognize that when you get out there, they have a right to vote for you or against you, and don't harbor grievances, whichever one they choose, because if you do, you're going to destroy yourself. And I think that maybe the best advice I've gotten is not to allow running for office to turn you into something that you're not. Don't become a campaign character. Just be authentic about who you are, and not become this character because you think that's what people keep telling you what you ought to be. And that's really good advice. I'm not really sure I would have done anything differently anyway, but it was good to hear something, hear that from somebody else, because it would just be too hard. It's hard enough to run as it is.
What is the best political advice you have ever given or received?
Number one, be yourself. Be yourself. I think an important part of the political mission is to build relationships and let people see you for who you are. And so I think voters, citizens, customers, family members, everybody can spot a phony and somebody who's trying to be something they're not. And so I think be yourself is the best advice I'd give.
Well, that's State Senator Joyce Elliott and Congressman French Hill, the two major party candidates for the 2nd Congressional District this fall. Now, in the coming weeks, that forum will be broadcast online in several different places with their responses to a variety of real estate, tax, and financial issues, so be watching for that in the near future.